How can you turn something your students are already excited about, like the NFL championship big game, aka the Super Bowl, into a super powerful math lesson? Well, my friends, the Super Bowl is not just about touchdowns and commercials, though we know that they can be so fun to watch. It is a math teacher's dream come true. Even for this math teacher who was hoping to see her Lions make it a little bit further in the playoff run, I'm still excited to chat with you and be here today because we're diving into how to bring the big game into your classroom with real world math connections that your students will love. In today's episode, we're going to break down why real world math matters, how sports themes lessons foster student engagement, and I'll walk you through ideas from my new big game project. Plus, I'll leave you with some actionable takeaways that you can use immediately, even if you don't grab the resource I share about today. So, first up, let's talk about the why behind real world math. Real world math helps our students see the relevance of math in their everyday lives. We know that textbook examples are often outdated, or at best, they are real, but nowhere near relevant to our students' lives. Okay, so creating or implementing projects with real and relevant topics helps your students find the relevance of math in their actual daily lives. Now, when we use real world math, that helps build intrinsic motivation by connecting the lessons to the topics they care about, whether that's sports, pop culture, movies, video games, etc. Our students really don't care about how far a fall from a cliff in Acapulco was, right? But if your kids are anything like mine, they currently have football fever. So why not lean into what they actually care about? And of course, research shows that student engagement skyrockets when students see math as useful beyond the classroom. And engagement is what we're after all, isn't it? Right? So let's dive in and talk a little bit about why sports are so helpful in making this real world connection. Now, I know that not every one of our students is going to be actively invested in sports. So, this is by no means a silver bullet for engagement. However, sports are relatable to all of our students. Whether they are actively following teams, they do in fact know about sports. Your school likely has sports teams. They see it on the news and the media, and they probably know somebody who plays sports. So they are just universally accepted as this real world relevant phenomenon for them. Plus, sports really naturally lend themselves to data analytics, statistics, and problem solving. So, covering a whole range of mathematical topics from linear and quadratic functions to stats and probability, like we're talking about today, there really is no shortage of content connections that you can make to sports. So, it's something you can come back to again and again. So, thinking back to like Anchor activities, if you've got one really strong activity that you are starting with and it's sports themed, you can tie back to that again and again. You can continue to use sports and pull that into a lot of different units that you are teaching. And we do know that even if students are just watching the Super Bowl for the commercials and the halftime show, it is a big shared cultural moment for everyone here in the United States in February. So your students are already excited about it. They're already seeing the hype. So let's go ahead and capitalize on that. So this year, I decided to design a new project that I'm really excited to introduce to you guys. It is the Big Game Project. And I did this because, one, I was really excited about the Lions and their run. I can't tell you how proud I am of their season. And two, I wanted to share that love and capitalize on it. My home high school team just like crushed it this year. They made it to the playoffs. So football fever is real big at my school, and I wanted to create something to share with all of you to share the love and excitement that we have. So, in this project, which if you're watching on YouTube, I print it out, right? Like I always print it out. I try it out before I give these things to you guys. So, it contains 4 different activities where your students are going to use real Super Bowl data that I already pulled, right? I've pulled this data for you to explore concepts like probability, percentages, graphing, scatter plots, line of best fit, things like that. They are going to first up look at stats from the past, okay? So, they're going to calculate some measures of central tendency. They're going to be creating scatter plots. And then they're going to use these past stats to predict the future, looking at some simple probability models. And my favorite part with this is activity 3, where you're going to create your own squares game to use with students. And no, 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 we are not gambling. We are not betting with our students. That would be ridiculous. But you know that they've all seen these kinds of squares games. If you're watching on YouTube, I'm showing that to you right now. And so your students are going to put initials in there. Then you're going to randomly draw numbers just like you normally would. Students are going to be able to calculate the probability that their square is going to win. And this gives them something interactive to do during the big game on that Super Sunday. Okay. So they're going to be able to monitor, see which classmates get the winning values. And then the next day they come in, they're excited to talk about the game. They don't really want to engage in just a math lesson or gosh darn it, they don't want to take a mastery check for me that Monday, right? So they can come in, have this discussion, do a reflection, and analyze their probability and stats from the game. So I love this. It's really flexible in how I designed it right there. It could be like a 2-day thing, it could be a 4-day thing, however you want to spread it out. I suggest doing the past analysis and the probability and creating the squares the week leading into the big game, and then the analysis the day after. So if you want to do it as like an add-on to your lesson, or if you just want to like take a day and knock it out, totally do that, right? There's some built-in scaffolding to ensure that all of your students can engage regardless of their skill level. I even made a digital version for the stats portion of it, part one. So if they want to go ahead and get some practice graphing, go for that. And I really like that this encourages collaboration and real world problem solving. It's going to get your students talking and checking one another's work along the way, right? Because they're all working towards the same goal with that. So it gets them to discuss these ideas. And we know that fostering discussion can build deeper understanding for our students. All right. So, well, I love this project and I'm really excited to bring it out to you guys this year. And I hope you're going to love it too. I want to make sure that you've got some actionable takeaways, even if you don't want to engage in this project, or maybe it just doesn't line up with your grade level. So, some things I want to encourage you to do: try using sports stats as warm ups for a variety of topics. For example, you could say, if a quarterback completes 68% of his passes, what's the probability he'll complete 3 of his 5 next passes? So you're looking at percentages, you're looking at probability. You can write this as fractions, decimals, percents. It's all kind of working together, whichever way you want to take that, right? And as a matter of fact, I've got a brand new set of football themed warm ups to help make this easier. So it's 10 warm ups using a variety of algebra topics. That are like a built-in skills review to do, leading up to and around the big game. So I'm gonna make sure I link that in the show notes. That actually just went live yesterday. So that's good to know. Also, if you're not really into a project and you're already happy with your warm-up routine, try having students collect their own data during the game, right? So they can track the number of touchdowns, the number of penalties, the number of field goals, any sort of data, right? So that you're actively having them engage in watching the game and actively having them engage in the mathematics. And then they can bring that in the next day to create graphs or calculate averages, whatever it is that you want to focus on. And we know that all of our students love to argue. They always think they're right, right? So you could have them host a class debate, like which team is most likely to win based on season stats. You could do that leading up to it. You could have them debate the game afterwards. This is great for integrating math reasoning and argumentation, which, is a skill that they need to know. All right, you guys. So let's wrap this up with a real quick recap. Why do we use real world math? Well, that's because real world math builds engagement and helps students see the relevance of math. And the best way to help our students find the relevance, lean into current events and trending topics. So the big game is a perfect opportunity to bring sports stats into the classroom. And whether you use the full Super Bowl project or the warm up idea or another idea of your own, the goal is to spark curiosity and show students that math is everywhere. So let's bring the big game into your classroom this year. Remember, if you want a ready to go resource, you can check out the football project or warm ups on TPT. Those are going to be on sale for this week as my gift to you. So I'll make sure to link those in the show notes. Don't forget, if you found this episode helpful, share it with a fellow teacher who's looking to make math more engaging this week as well. That's it for this football loving Lions fan today. From me to you, keep bringing real world math into your classrooms, keep sparking curiosity, and as always, keep it real.